Every day,
Open
on
up.
behalf
What's
of my
that?
guest Ben Buckland, I'm Wes Norman. Thanks for
Let
joining us.
Kirk
on
open
Breaking
up the
Norm.
show.
Okay,
Station
okay.
7
All right.
is a family-friendly sports bar and live music venue featuring Love Coffee and Martin City Pizza and Tap Room with 8 large-screen TVs inside, 2 large-screen TVs on the covered patio, and a large lawn. Love Coffee is roasted at our local Martin City Brewery with a variety of non-dairy options and flavors. All of our pastries and breakfast items are made from scratch and delivered fresh to Station 7. Martin City Pizza and Tap Room is a Casey Best local pizza and brewery. At Station 7, we have 14 taps, all featuring Martin City Brewing Company favorites and rotating seasonals, as well as Yoga Pants, a gluten-free favorite. Our $12 lunch special features an 8-inch specialty pizza and your choice of Caesar or house salad, served Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's live music every Friday and Saturday evening at 7, beginning May 3rd, and every Monday we have kids karaoke from 5 to 7 with a $10 kids meal. That's an 8-inch one-topping pizza, a cake pop, and soda. Then from 7 until 9, transition to adult karaoke. Recently featured as one of KC's best coffee places, visit station7mcbc.com for more information. And come see us at the corner of 7 Highway and Colburn Road in Lee Summit.
At Rendezvous, we're more than just a climbing gym. We're the place where climbers meet. In addition to climbing, we have social spaces, a coffee shop, game room, and event space. Our welcoming staff loves nothing more than introducing new people to the sport of climbing. We offer introductory classes as well as youth coaching opportunities. No matter your skill level, come climb with us. Come meet our team and start your climbing journey today. Visit us at 133rd and State Line or online at rendezvouskc.com. That's RENDEZVOUSKC.com.
College football season is here. We kick off Saturday with Sports Radio 810 WHB's College Game Day with Danny Clinkscale and Stan Weber at 9 a.m., followed by a college football tripleheader. First, number 4 Alabama takes on Wisconsin in an SEC versus Big Ten battle, followed by Texas A&M and Florida. And the nightcap is another SEC showdown between number 1 Georgia and Kentucky. It's all on your home for college football, bowl season, and the college football playoffs. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for over 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply. I'm Kirk Elliott, sitting in the Racing Boys World Headquarters. Scott Traylor in Wheeling, Missouri, at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial Race, where I'm going to be down there to join you tonight, Scott. So, got a big weekend down in Wheeling. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Kirk. There's been a little bit of a controversy over the amount of cars that are racing down here tonight. They had 39 wing sprint cars and 41 non-wing sprint cars last night.
They did. Wow. So I thought they had 32 wing on Thursday and 30 last night. That was the number they put out there. So it was a little bit more than that. So they, that's the controversy is, Scott, is that it's a 410 show versus a 360, which the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial's been in the past, and we've seen upwards of 70 race cars with 360, but not so many with the 410 cars. But I think everybody knew that going in, though, didn't they, that we wouldn't get as many wing cars as we had in the past.
You know, it's a little disappointing, to be honest with you, Kirk, to be honest with you. I don't understand the philosophy behind getting rid of the 360s sprint cars.
Well, I think
how about you?
Yeah, and it's a tough situation because the ASCS sanctioned the event from day one, and they're in new hands now, and they're under the World Racing Group banner, which is probably not what you would say is a great partnership with Lucas Oil Speedway, because with the video, with the live video and everything, that there's a little bit of an issue there with Lucas Oil Speedway and the World Racing Group bringing in one of its sanctioning bodies, don't you think?
Well, from what I've been told, Kirk, Forrest Lucas is not a big fan of the World Racing Group,
Yeah.
just so you know.
So I hear. So what are you going to do then if you don't have the ASCS? How are you going to be able to pull in the number of 360 cars that you've had in the past? Do an unsanctioned event? ASCS did have an event this weekend down at Arrowhead Speedway. They raced last night. So that and you'd had to have split video coverage. The non-wing would be on one video package, and if you had the ASCS in there, they'd have to be on Dirt Vision. So there's a little bit of a issue as far as the logistics of it.
There.
Yeah, so I don't see any other choice that officials made down there. The only other option would be to have Kenny Brown and the Power I Group come in and sanction this event. And Kenny Brown doesn't have a 360 division; he's got a 410 division. So I can understand why they went the direction they did.
Well, to be honest with you, Kirk, excuse me, they've been burning up a lot of tires down here.
Wow,
just so you know.
That's surprising to me. I'd noticed that.
$2,000 worth of tires a night.
Well, is it because, and I was down there for the Power I 410 event here just a few weeks back and didn't have those kind of issues that I was down there in the previous times that they've ran. Is it the way they prepping the racetrack? Is it rubbering down? What's going on?
Well, it is rubbering down, and it's taken the tires on Friday night, or on Thursday night, anyway. I went down there and looked at all the tires in the pits, and every one of them was slicked off.
Last night and Thursday night, both nights?
I didn't go down and check the tires last night.
But Thursday night it was that way.
Right. It was Thursday night. Tommy Hahn told me that they spent $2,000 on tires.
Oh, my God. So did they do any changes to the prep of the track last night so that it wouldn't take on so much? You know, just looking at it as a race fan on video, I didn't notice that it rubbered down last night like it did the night before, but you tell me. You were there.
Well, the fact is, Kirk, I think they prepped the racetrack more for modifieds than sprint cars.
And modifieds weren't running this weekend. We don't have modifieds on the card this weekend. Yeah, you got to prep a track different for sprint cars than you do modifieds or even late models, don't you?
Right. And on Thursday night, a lot of people burn up some tires. Last night, the track was a little better. It was juiced up a little bit more last night.
I thought so. Yeah, it was better last night for sure. Chase Randall didn't like that loose stuff up in turn 4, did he?
Hard, didn't he?
He was fighting for the lead right there, and he got up into that loose stuff, and over he went. Tough night for Chase Randall.
That was a tough night. Going for the lead.
Yeah.
Right.
But a good night.
He got upside down.
A great night for Jake Buback, though. Jace Park looked like he was going to run away with it, but Jake Buback had other ideas, didn't he?
Jake Buback beat Chase Parks on the last lap, Kirk. He passed him on the last lap. Did you see that?
I did. He had to do it twice. He passed him the first time, then a yellow came out, and then they did the restart, and he had to do it again.
They put Park back into the lead, right?
Yeah, they did, after the first time that Buback had got the lead.
And Jake Buback is going to join us here about 9:45.
Yeah,
today.
Boy, he's coming off a couple of great weeks. He won the Race Saver Nationals for the 305 cars up at Eagle here a couple of weeks ago. He won an ASCS National Tour event out in Montana. So he's doing pretty good right now. Yeah, he is.
He's on a roll right now. Hey, Kirk, last night Aaron Reitzel started 22nd, ended up running 8th. Did you see that?
I did, and I didn't see the heat races. I was watching some other races last night. Why did Aaron Reitzel start so far back last night? Obviously, he didn't get off to a good start in either the qualifying or the heat races. Why is that the case?
He had to run the B main.
And starting that far back, even if you're as good as Aaron Reitzel, if you start in that position, you don't have a shot at winning the race. There's some pretty good competition down there, isn't there?
There is. There's a lot of great competition down here. I believe there was 39 cars, Kirk. Did you get that number?
Yeah, I did. But what I'm looking at, counting up the heat races and so forth, I see 32 on Thursday and 30 last night. So I'm just going by the number that they put out there. So Ayrton Geniton had a big night on Thursday night. He dominated in the Hyde Breeder car on Thursday night, but last night he didn't have as good a night as he had on Thursday night. Why is that the case?
He had his hands full, though, with Aaron Reitzel and Joe B. Miller.
He did.
And Jamie Ball as well.
Yeah, Jamie Ball
got in there and mixed it up a little bit as well.
That's pretty good action there. Jamie Ball and Geniton and Reitzel in there, even though the track and rubber, a lot of those guys were gingerly getting around that racetrack trying to make sure they got to the end.
Kirk, were you a little bit surprised that Jamie Ball fell back to 4th? Were you a little surprised by that?
Yeah, it's just a little bit surprised that he ended up in that position based on just how well he was running earlier in the race, for sure. But Geniton is, I don't think anybody can be surprised what he did on Thursday night, especially in that, now he's jumped into that Hyde Breeder number 19 car now and starting on the outside of the front row. Reitzel had to come from 6th starting spot, and Jamie Ball started 3rd in that race. But I think it was Reitzel coming from the 6th spot to get into the mix on Thursday night. I think that was probably the big mover. And Joe B. Miller was also in the mix, too. He came from 7th place.
Right. Joe B. Miller is an exceptional driver, Kirk.
Yeah, great
every
talent.
time we see Joe B. Miller show up at a racetrack in the 51B car, he's always in contention, right?
He is. And even though these guys' tires were bald at the end of the race, we had a lot of movers through the field on Thursday night. It wasn't as if it locked down. When we say rubber, everybody thinks it's locked down, rubber down. It wasn't that. There were people catching the rubber at certain spots, but there were a lot of movers up through the field in that race on Thursday night.
They burned up a lot of tires on on Thursday night, Kirk.
So last night, I agree with you. I think the track was far better, and you got to take a look at what Buback did and the pass that he made there towards the end. Was there anything, and I didn't hear the interview that Jace Park had at the end of it, was there anything that he wished he could have done that would have fended off Jake Buback? Because at one point in the race, Park had a pretty sizable lead in that race.
I was kind of rooting for Johnny Herrera to get that win, because Johnny Herrera is the car owner of that race car, Jace Parks.
Yeah.
And I was kind of pulling for him a little bit, but I knew that Jake Buback, I knew that he would be on the show today. And I just knew that when I went down and talked to him, he said that he'd come on the show today.
So we're going to hear him a little bit later on, about 9:45, hour 2 exclusively here on Racing Boys.
Right.
Of course, we're just hour 1 here on Sports Radio 810. By the way,
listen, he's been on quite a roll with the ASCS, the 305, the Race Saver 305 Nationals, and picking up that win last night here at Lucas Oil Speedway. Those are big wins for him.
And
right?
you talk about, we said Joe B. Miller's a great driver. Jake Buback's a heck of a driver. He's won.
He is.
He's won in 305s, 360s. Now he's in a 410, and he wins in just about everything he jumps in. He's a two-time 305 Belleville Nationals winner, three-time champion of the Race Saver Nationals up at Eagle. He's won a number of ASCS 360 races over the years. Not so much in the 410. Now, he's been pretty much focusing on the 410s this year, Scott. But this is a big win for him. I don't know how many 410 wins that he's got. Not have near as many as he does in the 360 and the 305. This is a big win for Jake Buback last night to do it in the 410 car.
Last night, Ayrton Chinnerton started 13th and ended up running 9th last night, Kirk.
Yeah. And, of course, it all is based on how you do in your qualifying and your heat race, because if you're not up towards the front, the first 3 or 4 rows in these feature events, the way the competition is, you probably have little shot of winning. Don't you agree? Because if you're having to come from farther back than the 5th row, you're going to have a hard time getting up there challenging for a victory.
Speaking of Aaron Reitzel, he started 22nd and ended up running 8th last night, Kirk.
Which is probably a pretty good finish based on where he started.
Right.
So that and getting the transfer out of the heat race.
Kirk, are you a little bit surprised that Aaron Reitzel showed up down here instead of going to that $50,000 to win race?
Yeah, it was. Remember a week ago, Reitzel was at Port Royal Speedway winning a preliminary race in the high limit at the Tuscarora 50. And you're thinking, why not stay out there for a couple of weeks? But he headed back to the Midwest and won a 360 race, the ASCS race up at the Clay County Fair in Spencer the other night. So he headed back after racing the Tuscarora 50 back to the Midwest. Yeah, I am kind of surprised about that. $50,000 to win high-limit race at Lernerville Speedway this weekend. You would have thought that he would have hung around out there for an extra weekend, but he headed back, got in a 360 car, won on Tuesday night at Spencer, and then he's racing at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial this weekend. Do you think that a lot of that has to do with Aaron wanting to participate in this particular event this weekend? The Hockett
I
McMillan
would
Memorial?
agree with that, Kirk.
Yeah,
I would totally agree with that.
He wants this on his resume, does he not? Aaron Reitzel has not won the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial, and I think he wants this on his resume. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why he came back to the Midwest instead of hanging out in Pennsylvania for another weekend, is he wants that Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan trophy.
Kirk, I got to give a shout-out to Xavier Doney. He started 15th last night. He ended up running 7th. And he's been pretty good in the non-wing car as well. He ended up running 3rd last night. And he ended up running
I don't have that result right here, but yeah, he ran last night in the non-wing car as well. But Xavier Doney won the POWRi 410 feature there a few weeks ago when I was down there. He set quick time. He won his heat race and led every lap of the feature when I was down there, and he qualified well in the high limit event back in late June. So he's run well at Lucas Oil Speedway. I might have even thought he would have a better finish in the wing car than he's had, based on what he did here just a few weeks ago when the POWRi was down there in July. So, it was in August. It was after the Knoxville Nationals he was down there. So.
On Thursday night, he started 5th, and he ended up running 9th.
Yeah. Based on what he's done in that last event, I would have thought he might even done better than he did.
Kirk, I think Xavier Doney is going to be an up-and-coming driver What do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think?
He already is. Yeah, I mean, he's already proven he can win at this level. So I
Right.
certainly would not count him out the chance to step up and do even better than he's done on his qualifying night so far.
Hey, O'Brien Bell took a pretty hard flip last night too, as well, didn't he, Kirk?
yeah, wasn't he the top qualifier last night?
He was. He was fast qualifier.
Yeah. And the other big flip last night was in the non-wing car when Caleb Martin took a wild flip down there in turn number
Turn
one during
one.
the feature event. He was running in the 7th spot, I think, when that happened. So
Was
that was
the
probably the other
6
big
car,
flip.
Kirk?
The 79 car, I believe it is. Yeah, Caleb Martin in the non-wing took a big flip. Congratulations to the non-wing winners first 2 nights. Chase Howard won last night, and on Thursday night it was Ricky Lewis who won this event a year ago. He was the big winner of the Hockett McMillan Memorial a year ago, Ricky Lewis. So
Hey, Kirk,
gotta be the
Ricky
favorite.
Lewis is a pretty good, talented driver as well.
Yeah,
Riley Kreisel ended up running second, while Burks was fourth, and Kyle Jones was fifth.
Yeah, Ricky Lewis showed that a year ago, coming out from the West Coast and putting it on him a year ago in this event.
Hey, Kirk, did you think that Ricky Lewis and Wesley Smith put on a good battle?
Yeah.
Did you think that they put on a good race, didn't they?
Yeah, Wesley Smith also is a former winner of this event. He's you talk about a talented race car driver. Wesley
Right.
Smith is it. We've seen him climb. He's raced 2 or 3 different cars in a season and wins in all of them. He goes back and forth from one ride to the next, and he wins in all of it. So Wesley Smith is certainly a player in this field. But Ricky Lewis has got a chance to go back-to-back in the Hockett McMillan Memorial. I don't think anybody's done that before in this event.
Hey, Kirk, who do you think is the odds-on favorite to win in the non-wing cars?
I think Ricky Lewis. Yeah, based on what he showed the
I
other
would-
night,
I
think
would
so.
agree with that.
Yeah, I think he's the guy to beat. And as far as the wing cars,
He looked much faster than anybody else the other
Yeah, he
night,
did.
didn't he?
yeah, I would agree with that. As far as the wing cars, I got to put my money on Ayrton Jennington in that 19 car. He was in his own right the last time they were at Lucas Oil Speedway when Xavier Doney won. So with Jennington in the 19 car, I would have placed my money on Jennington. Who do you think is going to win the wing class tonight?
I'm going to put my money on Jake Buback.
There you go. I think that's going to be a hell of a show, don't you? I think
No, I would agree with that, Kurt.
you got to throw Aaron Reitzel into the mix, Joe B. Miller,
You can never
Xavier
count
Doney.
out. You can never count out Aaron Reitzel.
No.
Never.
So I think you got 4 or 5 guys that have a pretty good shot at it tonight.
What do you think about Ayrton Jennington's chances of winning?
Oh,
tonight?
that's my pick. I think he's the guy to beat tonight. He didn't have as good a night last night as he had the night before, but I think he's still going to have a pretty good shot at it based on where he's going to start. So I think
Joe B. Miller might be a player as well, Kurt.
yeah. Hey, we got Ryan Blaney coming up, the defending champion of the NASCAR Cup Series. We're going to hear from him here in just a little bit. Chase Briscoe, an hour 2 exclusively. Got interviews for both those guys. NASCAR's coming to Kansas Speedway here in a couple of weeks. We're going to be all over it at Kansas Speedway, and we're going to be previewing that. And 2 of the top drivers in the Cup Series, Ryan Blaney and Chase Briscoe, on the show. And we're going to be hearing from Carson Macedo, one of the hottest sprint car drivers in the country, a little bit later on this hour, an interview that we had on Mostly Motorsports earlier this week. We'll play a portion of that coming up later this hour, Scott.
I'm all for that, Kirk. We got a lot of interviews to get through.
So let's take a break right now. We're going to hear from Ryan Blaney. Coming up next, you're listening to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You're with the Racing Boys.
Track Talk.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
3 minutes, gentlemen.
The lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Do Mike and his team really get all those clients all that money?
You bet we do. We got a client who suffered a head injury, and we got them $500,000.
The numbers don't lie. Mike's definitely got this.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know, 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Hey Kansas City, Vince Sanders here with CBD American Shaman. Over the years, you, the 810 listeners, have trusted us as your go-to source for top quality hemp-derived products. Now we're thrilled to introduce a groundbreaking new product, Advanced Alkaloids. If you're seeking natural relief from everyday stress, temporary pain relief, increased energy, focus, and motivation, we have your bases covered. Visit any of our participating Kansas City area American
2 minutes, gentlemen. 2 minutes.
consultant and try plant-based advanced alkaloids completely risk-free. That's right, exclusively for 810 listeners, your first alkaloid experience is on us. Discover the power beyond our award-winning CBD and pick up a free trial of the most potent and popular alkaloids on the market. CBD American Shaman. Life is better with the feather.
Limit 1 per customer. A $9.99 retail value, no cash value. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Must be 21 or older with valid ID to purchase.
From opening night to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, don't miss a second of the NFL this season. This is Kurt Warner of Westwood One. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football. Plus marquee games on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, and more. Westwood One is the exclusive radio home for every primetime and postseason game. It's right here.
Your home of the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 59. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
If you're not a Greenlight Dispensary customer, you're missing out on the #1 voted dispensary and the #1 voted loyalty program in all of Missouri. If you're looking for the best cannabis experience in Kansas City, go to Greenlight Dispensary. No matter how you want to order or what you're looking for, Greenlight Dispensary has you covered. You can order online at greenlightdispensary.com, place your order, and then pick your order up at the drive-thru or the grab-and-go window at one of Greenlight's 4 KC area locations. Or you can go into one of these locations and ask the bud tenders at Greenlight what works for you. Greenlight has a variety of flower, edibles, concentrates, drinks, accessories, and so much more. Plus, they have the people to explain what you need to know about each of these products. And if you mention
15 seconds.
20% off your first visit to any of these KC area Greenlight locations. Pick your favorite location, State Line, Independence, Bannister, Harrisonville, or check them out online at greenlightdispensary.com. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Joining us now is the current point leader with the NASCAR Cup Series, Ryan Blaney. Ryan, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time. You know, I just want to ask you what it's like driving for Team Penske, because everybody knows that Penske is the guy, and he owns Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Talk about that relationship that you have with Team Penske.
Yeah, well, it's it's been a pretty amazing, gosh, it's been over a decade since I walked in the doors of that place, and
right,
got to meet with Roger and kind of figure out what we were going to do, and so I owe them obviously my whole career, because they were a huge part of giving me a shot and then sticking with me, for the first years and letting me kind of grow. So they're amazing. I really couldn't see myself driving for anybody else, just because Roger is an unbelievable human being. Not only on the NASCAR motorsport side, but away from it. I think what he's done, and any business he's been a part of, like his his work ethic and drive is unlike anybody I've ever seen, and what he's doing for how long he's done it, and he's never slowed down one day in his life. It's just remarkable. So I've tried to learn, from him of just how he approaches things, and even from a personal life side. And it's just a dream come true. I loved watching Roger Penske's cars race, when I was a kid, and from the IndyCar side to the NASCAR side, and even sports cars, and it's been a fun journey.
You had a good run at Atlanta. Talk about your third place finish.
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend for us of running up towards the front, really all race besides when we kind of got in that little wreck, but we were able to recover from that and come from the back and honestly have a shot to win the race at the end of it, and ultimately wound up third. So it was a good first race in this round, and I think everyone was a little bit nervous, going to that place with the first race of the playoffs of it kind of being a super speedway and not knowing what to expect. And we did a great job of just like maximizing the whole weekend without winning, but we did a great job of getting out of there and racing well, and going to the Glen this weekend with being in pretty good shape. So we just got to keep that mindset. Hopefully we can continue to do that.
Hey, is there any pressure on you leading the point series right now? Do you feel
Any
like
pressure?
there's
zero pressure?
Zero pressure.
More pressure if I was outside the cutoff line. Those guys got to feel pressure. We're in a good spot.
Right. Hey, you picked up the win up at Iowa Speedway, and I know that you had a lot of family there. Talk about that. That win was pretty special to you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. My mom, her side of the family's from Iowa, and kind of just outside Des Moines, and we had a ton of folks up there. Gosh, there was like 80 people, part of my family that was there and present, and that was like a dream come true, honestly, right? You want to win with your family being there, and I just happened to have a plethora of family at that race, so it was nice to see them afterwards, obviously. Some of them I never even met,
right.
The kids of some cousins that I never met before, like, hey, I'm your uncle or whatever, or and it's nice to meet you. Welcome to Victory Lane. This is pretty cool, huh? So it was a neat experience, and I'm happy we're going there again next year, and hopefully we can recreate that.
I know that your grandpa Lou Blaney and your father Dave Blaney, they are such accomplished sprint car drivers. Talk about Lou a little bit and what he meant to you.
Yeah. My grandfather, he obviously started off the racing kind of career in my family, and so I remember a little bit. Growing up, he was still racing a little bit. He was kind of on the back end of his career, and it's neat to. I love hearing stories about him, because he passed away when I was fairly young, and he got sick for a handful of years before he passed away. So I enjoy hearing stories about hey, I went and I used to watch your grandpa race up at Sharon or Lernerville every single weekend when I was a kid, and my parents knew him and stuff like that. I just like hearing those tales and stories, and just I feel like I learned something new about him all the time. So, but yeah, he was a great racer. Obviously, was a great person. Everyone always had great things to say about him. So, and then talking to my dad, just kind of how his relationship with his dad. Right, you're always curious about that, and hey, what did Grandpa teach you that you want to teach me or you use in your life? So I was fortunate to have a great family and some really, really good people to look up to when I was a kid.
So I hear that you're a big Pittsburgh fan, and they're playing against Denver this weekend. We're in Kansas City, and we always root against Denver. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I didn't know that.
Right. We always root against Denver. Todd, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, no matter what, Denver and the Raiders are like the people that if you come in wearing those shirts in Kansas City, So we're rooting for your Pittsburgh Steelers this week. That's for sure.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get our QB situation figured out, and we'll hopefully be able to put the beat down on Denver for you guys.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Kansas Speedway. It's coming up a couple weeks. What do you like about Kansas Speedway?
Yeah, I think that area is, it's a great area, for people to come in and watch a race. There's a lot of things to do around the track, but, the racetrack itself, I feel like is, puts on a heck of a show. I feel like that's one of the faster mile and a half we have, and what makes it tricky is, one, the speed of it, but the lane has kind of shifted to where the preferred groove is really right up next to the wall, especially after 10 laps or so. So I think that makes it challenging for drivers, right? There's some places you run the fence and stuff, but they're slicker and slower. But there, the speed is super high, so you really have to be committed to entering right at the wall, and your mid-corner speed isn't that low. So it's how do you navigate through that, and then how do you make your car versatile too to be able to possibly run off the wall, So it requires a couple different mindsets and ideas, and I think that's what makes that place challenging. But challenging places, put on great races, and I think that place is one of the best out there when it comes to putting on good races.
Do you think that is there a possibility that is there any chance that a guy can run the bottom at Kansas Speedway?
Yeah, I mean, there's you kind of run the bottom, for probably 5 to 10 laps, and then it just, as the tires wear out, you just kind of continuously move up the racetrack. And, but, the bottom gets tough there when you got, 30 laps on your stuff. It's just slick and low banking, and your tires are screaming at you, and it's just hard to kind of carry any momentum. But it does work a little bit, because it's funny, because now the top is getting so used to where the top is kind of getting slicker now. So that's what has made it pretty interesting the last couple of years, at least, is you can kind of run off the wall a little bit more, and the lanes have kind of gotten equaled out. So I think that just has widened the racetrack to where you can start making the bottom work if you do need to kind of bail down there.
I know you picked up a win at Pocono. Talk about that win a little bit.
Yeah, that was a special one. I got my first Cup win there with the Wood Brothers in 2017. So that was, you always appreciate tracks that, you had success on, or, first wins, or just, those little moments. So it was nice to get back to Victory Lane. It was hard to believe it was 7 years ago when I got my first one at Pocono, but it was really neat to get back to Victory Lane, and so that was obviously special, and second win of the year, which was nice to get under our belts, and so yeah, that was. But I think the thing that made it the most special was just the memories that I had there from 7 years ago.
Right. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us here on Track Talk, Ryan. I can't thank you enough for doing so.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys in a few weeks.
All right, we'll see you then, Ryan.
All right, bye-bye.
There you got it. Ryan Blaney joining us here on Track Talk. We'll take a break. When we come back, more of Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll be back with more in a moment. Stay tuned.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you're listening to Racing Boys, and if you ain't listening to them, you get out of the country because you're a communist. I love the Racing Boys. Like Mater says, they make me happier than a tornado in a trailer park. Get her done!
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motors.
2 minutes, 30 seconds.
10-4.
Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Boulevard Tavern is an incredible Kansas City eatery and bar located off 320 Southwest Boulevard. Join them for happy hour from 3 to 6 for $4 beers and $5 well. Come on in for trivia every Wednesday night with happy hour drinks all night long. Make a reservation for brunch with bottomless mimosas on Saturday and Sunday by calling 816-421-1023 or online at blvdtavernkc.com. It's all at Boulevard Tavern, 320 Southwest Boulevard.
Icon is seeking healthy, non-smoking men and women ages 18 to 55 to participate in a clinical research study at our facility in Lenexa, Kansas. Volunteers must be available for one stay of 6 nights and one follow-up phone call. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $4,400 for time and travel. Call Icon today at 913-210-5900. That's 913-210-5900.
1 minute.
Paid for client portrayal and endorsement. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Do Mike and his team really get all those clients all that money?
You bet we do. We got a client of ours suffered a bad head injury, and we got them $300,000.
That's what I'm talking about. Mike's definitely got this.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know. 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
College football season is here. We kick off Saturday with Sports Radio 810 WHB's College Game Day with Danny Klinkscale and Stan Weber at 9 a.m., followed by a college football tripleheader. First, number 4 Alabama takes on Wisconsin in an SEC versus Big Ten battle, followed by Texas A&M and Florida. And the nightcap is another SEC showdown between number 1 Georgia and Kentucky. It's all on your home for college football, bowl season, and the college football playoffs. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Welcome back. Track Talk here on a Saturday morning. College Game Day coming up at the top of the hour. They're going to be talking about games that happened last night. Kansas lost and Kansas State won. So they'll talk about that and
Kansas
more.
lost.
Danny Klinkscale, Stan Weber coming up top of the hour. Scott, we had a couple of other big winners in sprint car racing last night. Corey Day won at Lernerville, the preliminary night of the Commonwealth Clash that pays $50,000 to win, and Day looked pretty impressive doing it, and Buddy Kofoid continues to get it done in the World of Outlaws. He picked up the win out at Bakersfield Speedway last night, kind of a home track for him last night. Buddy Kofoid is hot right now, isn't he?
Buddy Kofoid is one of the better drivers in the country right now. Would you agree with that, Kurt?
No question about it. He's coming off that $100,000 to win High Bank Nationals up at Houston. He's already won a couple of races out on the West Coast, and he outdueled Giovanni Scelzi for the win last night. And Carson Macedo. Yeah. How about he's the other hot driver right now. Carson Macedo is running about as well as any sprint car driver in America right now. He is in third place in the final standings last night at Bakersfield after picking up a win last weekend. And we spoke with Carson Macedo on Monday's Mostly Motorsports show. And here's just a little bit of that conversation.
That was a thrilling victory for you the other night, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It felt good to win in front of hometown fans. You know, originally being from Lemoore, it feels good to win anytime you're at home. But when you race against the World of Outlaws and you're, you know, at a big show like that and all the hometown fans come out and watch it, it feels good to win. And obviously being the Tom Tarleton Classic and them being family and kind of the people that got me started in sprint car racing, it made it extra special. So it was a good win, and I was happy to, you know, also get a notch in the belt for JJR and just get a good run altogether.
You know, I traveled with Jason Johnson a lot when he won his 5 championships with the ASCS National Sprint Car Tour, and I can't believe that he's gone, to be honest with you. Does that track feel like your home track to you?
Yeah, Hanford definitely feels like my home track. I mean, obviously I'm in the same boat as you. It sucks to have Jason not be here with us, and man, everything we do here at JJR is really to carry on Jason's legacy and make sure that we represent him and everything that he stood for the best way that we possibly can. But yeah, going home to Hanford, I mean, it's about as close as home gets. Most of the time I grew up racing micros in Lemoore and Visalia, being from Lemoore, and Hanford's kind of right in between those two, so it's a perfect spot in the middle, and it's definitely the closest racetrack to my family's house and where I grew up. So it's like I said, that's why it's special. And being that it was a Tom Tarleton Classic makes it just that little bit more special.
Sheldon kind of put a little pressure on you there at the end of the race, didn't he?
Yeah. At one point he had a really good restart and drag raced me down the straightaway, and actually you made me question the line that I was choosing. I had started on the bottom that time and felt like I spun a little bit off of turn 4, and he was able to kind of get right next to me and edge me into turn 1, and I drove across and slid him and was able to get the spot back, but definitely made me question the restarts after that. I think Buddy was actually in second after that next restart, and I chose the top, and I think enough guys had started running the bottom after that it actually gave an opening for somebody to still make the bottom work on a restart. So I ended up going back down there late in the race and using that to restart again. But, the restarts were critical, and I knew that if I was going to get beat in that race, it was either going to be in traffic or on restart. So I just had to make sure that they were nice and clean and that I did the best job I possibly could to fire off turn 4 first.
Hey, Carson, this Kirk. It seems like when you arrived at Knoxville, you finished third in the Cappy. You really had a good, solid Knoxville Nationals run up there. Your car run fast. What was the turning point there? You came into Knoxville. That Cappy was a big night for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Knoxville week in general, we just had a really good car. We actually were pretty good at Peevely as well. And we had wrecked at Eldora, and we were struggling a little bit prior to that. We had a really good Peevely. I felt like we finished well both nights there, and I felt like my car was comfortable and really good. And then leading into Knoxville, I think we just had a little bit of confidence on our side. Like you said, we were able to run really good at the Cappy and then turn around and went to Oskaloosa, and I felt like we had a good car and made a lot of speed there and ran up through the field. And then had a good prelim night, and really it was in contention to win there in the first half of the Nationals and made a few adjustments, and I think we kind of went the wrong way and ended up struggling the second half of the race. But, man, for the most part, I feel like we had a solid Nationals. We were still able to run third, so I thought that was – or I think actually fourth. So it's a really respectable run. It's obviously not where we wanted to be. We would have loved to have been able to win that race, but and it's obviously one that's on my bucket list to win, but still nothing to hang our heads about. And I think ultimately we learned a lot in that week, especially the final night, that's helped us, get our race car a little bit better, and we've been on a, really good stretch here since then. So hopefully we can keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I mean, you really carried it forward since then. Jackson, a track you've always run well at. You won the preliminary night up there. You swept the weekend up in North Dakota. You just been able to keep this momentum going. And just what's been some other key factors of how you've been able to gather this consistency that you've been searching for all year?
Yeah, I think just we learned a few things at the Nationals, really, that, believe it or not, even though that Knoxville is a lot different than all those other tracks you just listed, it seems like we learned a couple things that I think we needed to do with the situation that we're in right now with the tires that we have and not having wicker bills and things like that. I think it's changed our cars dramatically this year, and we've had to make adjustments with our race car to, compensate for that. And luckily for me, JJR, I've got one of the best in Philip Dietz. I think he's an incredible mechanic, and he can kind of look at what's going on and make adjustments based on what our car's doing and what he's seeing on the racetrack. And I think that, makes a really big difference. So, other than that, I think Robbie McQuinn and Adam Zimmerman, they've kind of fell into their role really nicely of being the car chief and the tire guy this year. They were new at the beginning of the year. Both had some experience working on race cars, but ultimately never worked at JJR before. So I think that takes a little bit of time just to get them fully in tune. But they're just they're kind of at the point now where I feel like they don't even have to say anything to each other. They just know what each other expects and does a great job. They do a great job. So I'm happy with I think our team's in a good place at the moment. We've got a lot of momentum on our side. I think we've figured out a few things that we need to go fast at the moment with the way the tires are and the way the sport's trending. And I think hopefully if we can keep those runs going and, our theory will ring true and we can keep putting good runs on the board.
That is Carson Macedo. He is 106 points back of point seeder David Gravel right now. And they're starting to run out of races, Scott. He's, Macedo's running as consistent as you need to win a championship, but I think he's probably too far back to take down Gravel. Gravel to have a couple of bad nights, don't you think?
I would agree with that, Kirk. Right now, I think that Carson Macedo is just going to have a hard time catching David Gravel.
Yeah, but he's running good enough to win a championship right now. If he keeps up this kind of consistency, he's getting the consistent top finishes. But the problem is David Gravel's not too far behind him if he's behind him at all. So even last weekend, Gravel finished ahead of him one night, then Macedo come back and finished ahead of him. But it just, you're getting into September now. It's going to be hard. You got to hope for David Gravel to have a bad night if you're in the Jason Johnson, Phil Dietz camp over there to try to win this championship. But we'll see what happens. But, hey, I want to talk about Corey Day too, Scott. Last night was about as impressive a run to a checkered flag as I've seen in a long time. Is this kid really 18 years old? He did not put a wheel out of place. He had to maneuver through lap traffic. He was right in the high side. He made no mistakes last night, and he powered that thing to big. He got as far back as fifth, and then he was able to get himself up towards the front of the field last night. But when he got out front, he was flawless. And the kid's only 18 years old. He looks like he's 25 or 30, but he's 18 years old. Have you seen a more impressive driver in wing sprint car races that young, outside of maybe Kyle Larson, than Corey Day? What do you think?
I think Corey Day is the next step under Kyle Larson. I don't think he's as talented as Kyle Larson is. He beat Cy Lynch last night. He beat Tyler Courtney, beat Anthony Macri, and he beat James McFadden last night. Those were the top five guys. That's a pretty good group of guys right there, Kirk.
Yeah, and if you just watch him get around, there's no wall around the outside of Lernerville Speedway, and he was riding the lip last night. But the way he was working the lap traffic last night was very impressive. We're going to see him in a pavement car here in a couple of weeks. He's going to race the ARCA race at Kansas Speedway coming up here in just a little bit.
Are you anxious to see how he's going to do out there at Kansas Speedway, Kirk?
Yeah, he's raced one ARCA race so far. He was at Salem, and he's going to be in a good race car. It's the same. I think it's the same ride that Connor Zilic and some others have been in that won races. So the car's capable of winning races. But before he comes to Kansas Speedway, he's going to be at Bristol in the ARCA car next weekend. So I think we're all excited just to see what he's going to do, but he's already signed with Hendrick Motorsports, and he's going to go all in next year. I think he's pretty much full-time. Jason Myers is looking for a driver in that 14 car. He's not going to be racing as many sprint car races next year. He's all in on the pavement side this year, so it's going to be interesting to see what Corey Day does from here, that's for sure. Hey, before we get to the top of the hour, I want to remind everybody about the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. Next week, we'll be up at Knoxville for the late model Knoxville Nationals. They still got the Eldora Speedway tribute going on inside the museum up there. They've already started work on the Dennis Hallbaugh Suite Tower. That's under construction right now. They've really gone to town with that since the 410 Nationals up there. But while we're at it, make sure you get signed up for the Sprint Car giveaway. The XXX chassis with the Al Parker racing engine, race-ready sprint cars, going to be drawn for 2 days before Christmas. All you have to do to get signed up for that, go to winasprintcar.com. And next year's Corvette, also, they're selling tickets for that right now. WinAZ06Corvette.com. Of course, all the proceeds go to the betterment of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. While you're up there next week, check out all the great items in the gift shop. Go to sprintcarstuff.com to see what's available. It's going to be a big week up at Knoxville next weekend, Scott, for the 3 days of the late model Knoxville Nationals. And Bobby Pierce, we've got him on the show on Monday live. It is on the schedule for him to be at Knoxville. He wasn't there last year, But Bobby Pierce, who won his 32nd feature at the World 100 last week, Scott, he's going to be on the show Monday live, Mostly Motorsports, and he's scheduled to be at Knoxville next week.
We can't thank him enough for coming on the show on Monday, Mostly Motorsports. What time is he going to be on, Kirk?
12:50 live. And, of course, we
12:50.
podcast that show, and we'll have it up there everywhere after we do the show on Monday.
That'll be episode 328 for anybody keeping score at home. And that interview from Carson Macedo that you heard, that was just a partial interview. Real small portion. That was just like 6 minutes out of almost a 30-minute interview, 25-minute interview. So if you want to go back and listen to that interview, just go to wherever you find your podcast, and it's episode number 327.
What'd you think of Bobby Pierce's big win at Eldora last weekend, Scott?
I thought it was pretty good. What did you think about it?
Yeah,
Kirk?
I mean, it was really impressive the way he was able to power his way through that. It looked like Jonathan Davenport, once he got the lead, he was just going to run away with it. But clearly, Pierce had the fastest race car up there. Garrett Albertson led early in the race. By the way, Garrett Albertson won an exciting MLRA feature last night up at Davenport Speedway as he passed Dennis Erb Jr. and held him off at the checkered flag. That was probably the best race of the night last night on a well-prepared Davenport Speedway in the MLRA. So congratulations to Garrett Albertson, who picked up the feature victory in dirt late model racing last night. A couple of other winners want to talk about. Kyle Cummins wins the USAC non-wing sprint car feature at Circle City Raceway. They're going to be at Hobstadt tonight. By the way, Cummins coming back after flipping his car at Texarkana last Saturday night, fighting for the lead. He had a chance to win that race, and he got up into the fence in turns 1 and 2 and flipped it. And he was able to get redemption from that, bounce back, and pick off the win. And by the way, he's really good at Hobstadt. Kyle Cummins, after winning last night at Circle City, has got to be the favorite to win. Brady Bacon was right there last night. Logan Seavey is still the points leader. He finished in second
Mitchell
place
Moles
last night, so we'll see what happens at Hobstadt tonight.
Man, that's a bunch of good race car drivers right there, Kirk.
Yes, sir.
Kyle Cummins beat Logan Seavey, Brady Bacon, Mitchell Moles, and Shane Cottle.
And we're going to see non-wing sprint car racing tonight down at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. Scott, look forward to heading down there, watching what happens tonight at the Hockett McMillan Memorial. And we want to remind everybody to stay tuned. We've got Hour 2 exclusively on Racing Boys, Facebook, and YouTube. Stay tuned. College Game Day is coming up next. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to Ryan Blaney and Carson Macedo for joining us. Stay tuned for College Game Day. For Todd's surprise, Jay Powers back in the Sports Radio 810 studios. My partner, Scott Traylor. Thanks for tuning in. Join us again next Saturday for another edition of Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Yo, you better mark those calendars.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Friday, September 13th to Sunday the 15th from New York. This
Good stuff. I'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Be careful out there.
Yep.
All right.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
So here at Specialty Sportswear in-house, we do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other add specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
From the circle track to the drag strip to off-road racing, Rod End Supply has been keeping their customers at the front of the field since 1989. Whether you need rod ends, tubular rods, or specialty products, Bob Douglas and his Rod End Supply staff are always ready to help you with your needs. You can visit them on the web at rodendsupply.com or call them at 800-284-2902. That's 800-284-2902. Rod End Supply, keeping you at the front of the field.
When Steve died, the outpouring of love was amazing. These dollars had come together to support us, and we realized, no, we didn't want to use them for us. We wanted to use them to help others.
The foundation has done so much for so many people. It helps any family that has somebody, whether it be a crew member or one of the drivers, that get hurt. We can help them to get through the situation.
I was injured in a non-wing sprint car accident that broke my neck and left me with a spinal cord injury. I was in the hospital 8 months, and that got really, really expensive, so having that extra help to help push me and my family forward was a big deal.
Yes, Steve's death is the reason the foundation exists, but it's Steve's life, and it's the lives of racers everywhere, is the reason we're able to do the work we do.
Lakeside Speedway with weekly racing every Friday night, plus great special events throughout 2024, including USMTS, MLRA, Malvern Bank Super Late Models, High Limit, Power I, ASCS, and much more. For complete schedule and information, it's lakesidespeedway.net. For the best coverage in dirt track racing, go to racinboys.com.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum, and our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you're listening to Racing Boys, and if you ain't listening to them, you get out of the country because you're a communist. I love the Racing Boys. Like Mater says, they make me happier than a tornado in a trailer park. You know, the funny thing about that is the Larry voice and the Mater voice are exactly the same. Get her done!
It's time for America's most unique motorsports show, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Thanks for joining us. Hour 2 here on Racing Boys. Got it live on our YouTube page and Facebook Live, and of course we archive the Track Talk show. And then want to remind everybody, Monday, 12 noon, live for Mostly Motorsports. Scott, got a big night down there tonight. How's it? Are you familiar with how this works as far as the format and how everybody gets lined up for the big prize tonight?
No, Kirk, I'm not. I have no
I'm not
knowledge
either.
there at all.
Yeah, I don't see the details of how that works. So we'll tune in and find out just how everything. We know that they split the non-wing field. They had 19 that ran on Thursday night, and the other half of the field ran last night. But the wing guys, they ran both nights, didn't they? So
right.
So that was the big difference between those two classes tonight. But I always look forward to this event, Scott. It's a different atmosphere. It's a unique atmosphere when it comes to the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial, because everybody revered and really loved Jesse Hockett. And it just seems like this event, in terms of his memory and his mythic status in racing, just gets bigger every year. I mean, and the drivers that show up to this thing that really look at this event, when it's bigger than the prize money, when the trophy is bigger than the prize money that they put up, you know you got something special.
Kirk, I hate to say this, but Jesse Hockett was in our studio the night before he passed away, wasn't he?
Yeah. Boy, we just, he was such a great guy. You know, he came, we did the that ASCS weekly show back then. This was in 2010. And Jesse had what was that, about a 2-hour trip up from Warsaw, Missouri? And he come up there to sit in the studio with us.
About an hour, Kirk.
About an hour? It seemed like it was more than that. But anyway, he was gracious enough to drive up. This when we were in the old Sports Radio 810 studios, and he was there the night before. And Scott, you and I were both together when we heard the sad news that Jesse had passed. We were in the studios over there, and we got the news at the same time. And it's just one of those instances you never will forget where you were when you heard the news. And it was just a very sad time. We're still sad we don't have Jesse around, but I think Jesse is one of these guys that I think has gotten bigger after death, and that's pretty special when that happens. Jesse Hockett and his legacy has really grown since we lost him 14 years ago.
Right. Hey, Kirk, do you think that Jesse Hockett needs to be in the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum?
Yes. Yeah, without a doubt.
I would agree with that.
Because and it's because not just how great of a driver he was, and he was one of the most versatile sprint car drivers we've seen. He was great in both wing and non-wing.
He was great at non-wing racing,
Yeah.
and he was great at wing racing as well.
And he was great in a midget too. He'd drive a midget car, but he was so passionate. But I think the impact that he has made, even after we lost him, even makes it more so that he belongs in the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. Just with this event alone warrants that. And, of course, Daniel McMillan, his best friend and crew chief who we lost before Jesse died, also we got to remember him as well. So we had Jack Hockett on last week's show. You go back and listen to that. If you missed it, it's archived up on racingboys.com. and our Facebook page. And Jack was really great last weekend. And a week ago today was Jesse's birthday.
Right.
And he did a great job at providing some memories.
We had Jack on the day of his birthday.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
We did. It would have been Jesse's birthday last week, but he told some great stories, and more will be told tonight. And it's just an event I just love to come to, and can't wait to get down there and see Jack and everybody at Lucas Oil Speedway tonight. It's going to be a big night.
Yep, it's going to be a big night, Kirk. I don't know who the favorite is going into the race, but I'm going to take Ricky Lewis to win in the non-wing race, and I'm going to pick Jake Buback to win in the winged race.
Yeah, I agree
What
with
do you
you.
think?
I agree with you about Ricky Lewis. He's got to be the favorite to win the non-wing race, just the way he looked the other night. And of course, he's the defending winner. And if he does pull that off tonight, he'd become the first back-to-back winner of the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. But I'm going to differ with you just a little bit on the wing side. I'm going to go with Ayrton Geniton to win. He's running really well in that Heidbrider car. He did not do as well last night as he did on Thursday night, but this is more wide open, Scott, don't you think, the wing cars? Because you got Aaron Reitzel, you got Joe B. Miller, you've got Chase Randall, Jake Buback, Scott Boguski, who can win a race too, Xavier Doney, Derek Hager.
Don't count out Chase Parks as well.
Chase Park, he looked like he was going to get it done last night. So
right.
I think it was a learning process for Jake last night, don't you think? He's a good young driver. He's learning.
I think that is a very good statement there, right there,
yeah.
Kirk.
And he's got a good mentor right there with Johnny Herrera. Who better to have Johnny Herrera in his ear?
Listen, Johnny Herrera is one of the very best at sprint car driving.
Yeah.
And he gives, just so you know, I think Chase Parks has tore up $65,000 worth of equipment this year.
Ouch.
Right.
So is Johnny fully on board with this young kid, going to take their lumps and try to see this through?
Let me
With
just
Chase?
speak what Johnny told me. Chase Park is a guy that stands on the gas and doesn't finesse the car that much. He always stands on the gas, and I'm telling you, if Johnny Herrera could get him to calm down a little bit, Johnny's going to make him a winner.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You just got to know when to pick your spots, and he's still learning, and they've learned the hard way. They've tore up some equipment, but if he's committed to him and sticks it through, I think it'll pay off in the end. Let's get to some of these interviews. We got a lot of sound to get to. We're going to hear from Jake Buback, last night's winner, live a little bit later on in the show. But we talked with Chase Briscoe the other day. He won the Southern 500 at Darlington here a couple of weeks ago to get himself into the playoffs. Not so good a finish at Atlanta last week when he got caught up in Kyle Larson's mess when Larson hit the wall hard, and Briscoe came around and hit Larson and took him out of the race. But Briscoe is in the hunt and got raced this weekend at Watkins Glen and at Bristol. We spoke with Chase Briscoe on Monday's Mostly Motorsports show, and actually we did not speak with Chase Briscoe on the Mostly Motorsports
we
show.
actually taped
This is a first time that you're going to hear this interview. We did this on Wednesday, as a matter of fact. So this is not yet heard interview from Chase Briscoe, the NASCAR Cup Series. Let's listen to it right now.
Joining us now is Chase Briscoe. Chase, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, listen, me and Kirk were just talking about your sprint car career, and we're just wondering, what are you going to do now going from Ford to Toyota? What is going to go on there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I still got to figure that part out. Obviously trying to still focus on this year right now, but yeah, that'll be something that I'm sure, over the course of the off season we'll have to figure out. But yeah, so far so good on everything on our end on the Ford side, and just trying to honestly finish out the year strong.
Right.
All right, Chase, congratulations on the Southern 500 win. What's been the aftermath of winning such a big race? Final year for Stewart-Haas Racing.
Yeah, it's been a huge deal, just for the entire company to to go from thinking, we're not going to even have a chance to race for a championship in our final year to, at the last minute, all of a sudden being able to do that, just the morale in the shop, has totally been different over the course of the last 2 weeks. There's a pep in everybody's step. So it's been a huge deal, truthfully, just for us to be able to win that race and to do it the way that we did it. And it's went a long way, I feel like, in these final, 9 weeks now. So hopefully we can, carry that momentum that we had from Darlington and continue it through the playoffs. But from, just a company standpoint, it was a huge day, not just for the 14 team, but just everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing. And, it just was a special night for sure.
Hey, listen, I watched a video of Connor Bergquist, and he was rooting for you so much for you to win that race. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I saw it. It was super cool. We actually reached out to him last week, and he actually came to the racetrack this past weekend with us. So it was super cool to meet him. He's actually from Indiana, too, which was really, really cool. So, I got to hang out with him and his fiance. They're actually getting married in 2 weeks. They live right there in Avon. So I was asking if they knew the Fox brothers or any of my sprint car buddies from Avon. But, I got to see Connor and his fiance. It was crazy, truthfully, just to see somebody that excited for me to win. I'm excited, my family's that excited, but to see somebody that's never even met me be that excited was a pretty cool thing. So it was neat to be able to have him come out to Atlanta this past weekend and hang out with the team and I, and hopefully can win some more races so he can celebrate some more.
Boy, that was a tough hit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to Larson there. All of a sudden, just hard right into the wall, but you were a victim of circumstances there. Are you okay, first of all?
Yeah, I'm all good. Surprisingly, I thought I was going to be a lot more sore, especially when right before I hit him. I thought it was going to be, truthfully, a lot bigger than what it ended up being. So, fortunately for us, NASCAR, does spend a ton of time and money in trying to make these things as safe as possible. And, I wasn't sore, like my neck wasn't sore or anything. So I was pretty surprised by that. I was expecting to wake up Monday morning and be hurt pretty bad. And, I was totally good. Did yard work all day Monday even.
All right, let's talk about taking over the 19 car for Martin Truex Jr. when he retires this year. Your thoughts about going over there?
Yeah, obviously, a great opportunity, right, to go over there. But, at the end of the day, I haven't really thought a lot about it. Right now my main focus is Stewart-Haas Racing and, trying to win a championship. That's the main goal right now. But certainly it's a great opportunity, right, to go over there, and something that, as soon as the season's over, I'll probably start to reflect on a little bit more and start focusing on. But, right now we still have a 1 in 16 chance to win the Cup Series championship. So that's kind of all my focus and thoughts have honestly even been on. So, excited for the opportunity. Obviously, it's bittersweet, that Stewart-Haas is coming to an end, but we still got a lot of unfinished business to settle.
When you heard the news that Stewart-Haas was going to be no more, just kind of walk us through how you all got together and still made the commitment to finish out the season strong, because that had to be a whole team effort to be able to make what happened at Darlington and continue the season and on a high note. For all of you to make that commitment when you know that it was all going to come to an end.
Yeah, for us, we found out, Tony had came into the shop and kind of told everybody, and, everybody at the shop kind of split up into their own groups, right? And the 14 group kind of went over to where we set our cars up, and everybody was kind of just standing there in a circle and, kind of disbelief, but we all kind of knew that there was something coming. But yeah, we kind of all just looked at each other and said, hey, are you in this to the end? And kind of went one by one, and everybody agreed that no matter what happens, we were going to stick it out to the end. The 14 group in particular has been together for a really, really long time, through Tony, through Clint, and now myself. So we feel like we owed it to each other to stick it out, no matter how good, no matter how bad it may be, we were going to stick it out to the end and just really enjoy it all together. And for us to be able to go and win a race, in our final season, and then particularly it be the Southern 500, which is, arguably one of the hardest races to win in NASCAR, I think says a lot just about, our race team and those 14 guys and just the resilience that they have. So yeah, it was definitely, a tough, middle part of our year finding that news out. But we haven't given up and haven't lost focus on kind of what we all agreed to and, what we're all setting out to do at the beginning of the season.
Hey, let me ask you, we did the Chili Bowl for 16 years on RacingBoys.com, and I'm just asking you, are your plans to go back and run the Chili Bowl again?
Yeah, that's something I've ran the Chili Bowl, I think, the last 13 years straight now. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out, truthfully. My wife's pregnant with twins right now. So I'm going to have, 2 newborns on top of a 3-year-old at home. So I don't know if my wife would necessarily want me being gone the whole week, but maybe it's a thing where I can fly in and out or something like that. So still trying to figure that out. I'm certainly going to have cars there driving. My plan is to take Carter Sarf again, and then find another driver to drive, one of my other cars, and then still trying to figure out, if I'm going to go run it. It's something I still have to kind of figure out with my wife. It's certainly something that I'm super passionate about, something I want to be a part of and want to race. But yeah, I need to obviously be the best father and husband I can be too. And she doesn't get very many days with me, right? And especially with 2 newborns in the house, it'll be a little bit tougher this year. So yeah, trying to figure all that out. And I don't have a lot of time. I got to figure it out here pretty quickly. But I guess we'll just see what happens once the twins get here, then make a decision.
Do you know if they're boys or girls?
Yeah, one of each.
One of each. How that's really lucky. I've got 2 daughters, and raising 2 daughters is kind of tough in my eyes.
Well, I'm a twin. I got a twin sister, so how about that?
You do.
Congratulations here, Chase. That's pretty awesome. Hey,
I appreciate it. We're looking forward to it for sure.
I know we got Watkins Glen and Bristol coming up, but I want to ask you about Kansas Speedway. That's our track here. The closest finish in the history of NASCAR back in May. That's a great racetrack. Your thoughts about coming to Kansas Speedway later in the month?
Yeah, Kansas, ever since this next-gen car came out, it's probably turned into the best racetrack, for that car. Like, every time we go to Kansas, it's an unbelievable race. Just races really, really well. So, yeah, you add in the fact that last time we were there was literally the closest finish in NASCAR history, and now you're going there in the playoffs. It's going to be an exciting race. It's a really fun area to go to, right there around the racetrack. Obviously, there's all kinds of stuff to do. So, yeah, looking forward to getting out to Kansas, and hopefully we're still in the playoffs when we get out there, and it should be an awesome race. Literally, ever since the next-gen car came out, Kansas Speedway has been one of the best races, so I'm sure it'll be no different this time.
Your chances at Watkins Glen and Bristol, what do you think about those two before you get to Kansas?
Yeah, I think, those are 2 really good opportunities for us. Bristol is, I would say, one of our better racetracks as a race team. And even myself as a driver, I feel like that's a place that we always have really good speed at. There's certainly unknowns going there with just the tire situation and everything that happened last time we were there. But, feel really good about Bristol. And then Watkins Glen's another place where I feel like, we are normally pretty good on the road courses. And Watkins Glen, it sounds like we're going to have a new tire that's going to be slipping and sliding around a lot. So, yeah, I'm confident really for both of them. I knew this first round Atlanta was kind of going to be the big wild card. And at Watkins Glen and Bristol, we should be able to score quite a bit of points. So hopefully we can, go there and do that, if not get the win.
Chase Briscoe. He'll be at Kansas Speedway here in a couple of weeks for the NASCAR Cup Series, coming off that big Southern 500 win. What do you think, Chase Briscoe there, Scott? He's got that Ford deal. I think that's all going away. He's a Toyota driver now. Will he, they still got to get things worked out, but I got to believe that if he goes out there sprint car racing, he'll have a Toyota motor in the car.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think that you're right on the money there, Kirk. I think that the chances of him having the Toyota motor in that car versus a Ford, I think that's a no-brainer.
Now, on the other side of it, Donnie Schatz running the Ford engine for Tony Stewart, I don't see that changing. I think they're going to stick with Ford with the Donnie Schatz 15 car. What do you think about that? Because they made too much of an investment in that program over there. I'm not sure that changes.
No, I would agree with you on that one, Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, they've spent a pile of money to get Donnie up to speed in these Ford engines, and I just don't see him bailing on that part of it. But, but with Chase Briscoe, it's a whole different situation. Let's hear from some of these guys that we have on every week on Mostly Motorsports. Chase Rodman is the voice of the Kubota High Limit Racing. He's up in the tower calling the races. Did a good job of calling that race last night. And got Connor Wade, the pit reporter for the World of Outlaws coverage on Dirt Vision. Let's hear from Chase Rodman and give us a recap of last weekend's Tuscarora 50 at Port Royal Speedway and his weekly visit on Mostly Motorsports from earlier this week.
Hey, Rico picked up $58,500 for his win. How about that? That was a pretty thrilling victory for him, wasn't it?
I would say it was a thrilling victory for him himself and maybe the crew guys, but for everybody else, I wouldn't say it was super thrilling. But I mean, it's been a good week. It was a good week for Rico. $100,000 at Skagit, 58 at Port Royal, and then he got a win at Skagit on Friday night too for that $100,000. So he's had a really, really good week. I mean, he's had a good couple weeks. He ran second a bunch in California. He was good there. He ran second at Port Royal on Thursday night. So yeah, he's probably been one of the hottest drivers on the High Limit Tour, and it's definitely showing. He's doing it at the right time, winning some big races.
Did you think that TJ Stutz had a chance to win that race at the end of that race?
No, I really don't. There wasn't much passing going on, obviously, and it would have taken an absolute miracle for him to actually make a pass. Now, I will say that TJ did a very good job of conserving his tire. If you looked at his right rear compared to Rico's, it was almost a night and day difference. I mean, he did a fantastic job just keeping that car underneath of him. Tony Laforta told me that he talked to TJ afterwards, and he said he was, barely even quarter throttle around the whole racetrack, so he was really conserving a lot. And if Rico, blew a tire, TJ's would have made another 15 laps or so, it seemed like. So he did a good job with that second place run, and it's been a career year for him, and it continues on.
What did you think about Anthony Macary's run? He came from 10th up to 3rd. That was a pretty good performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he got going early when the track, was 2 lanes still, and he took advantage of that. And then after that, he kind of mentioned in his podium interview that he wasn't planning on leaving the bottom ever. I mean, he wasn't going to try and go up there and destroy another car like he did on Friday night, and just was kind of taking it easy and was content with running 3rd. If somebody blew a tire in front of him, then he would take advantage of that. But yeah, I mean, a 10th to 3rd run is obviously pretty solid. But I think that, after the halfway break, there wasn't much passing at all. And I think he realized that, in order to pass somebody, you're going to have to, either move them out of the way, they're going to have to make a mistake or blow a tire. And he was pretty set on just running right there and not causing any problems.
He really junked out that car the other night, didn't he?
Yeah, that was one of the bigger wrecks we've seen in a while, I feel like. There was a couple, I think, it was the same night with Devin Borden going out of the ballpark there. That was a big one. Macary's crash obviously was huge, and he mentioned it in his little post-crash deal that, he hasn't wrecked like that in a long time. That car was pretty well destroyed, couple barrel rolls, and there's some times where he can, do that, what he did coming off the corner and stay in the gas and get into the wall, and it usually works out for you, but that time it just caught him the wrong way, and he went for a pretty big tumble there.
Of course, the other big crash is Corey Day's flip on Saturday night that the fuel tank even came off that race car. That was a pretty hard lick Corey had on Saturday night.
Hey, Chase, let me ask you, do you notice the fuel tanks flying off of these cars a little bit more than normal? Because I hear the tabs are a little bit different on the fuel tanks this year than last year.
Yeah, I'm not really sure as far as the mounting and the hardware goes, what's different, what's changed, anything like that. But you can certainly tell that whatever's happened is certainly taking a toll on the fuel tanks, because there has been, noticeably a lot more coming off and coming loose and all that stuff here over, this whole year. And that's a scary thing, because when those things come flying off, man, especially, in Corey's case, luckily it didn't go flying away from the car or anything. It was still there, relatively close, but his was completely full of fuel. I mean, it was lap 1 of a 50-lap race.
Right.
And it came off. So, yeah, I don't know what's got to happen, but obviously I think there's a lot of people that are involved in the higher-ups of sprint car racing that are seeing these problems happen, and hopefully they're trying to put some changes in motion here.
Hey, getting back to TJ Stutz, he was shocked that Rico was able to make it to the end, was he? I mean, it's the way he was talking. He was just waiting for Rico's tire to blow, was he not?
Yeah, I'm guessing he probably saw it under the caution, maybe with that yellow we had with 3 laps to go when DeWeese blew his tire. I'm sure TJ pulled up next to Rico and was looking at it and was probably thinking to himself, man, he ain't going to make it. I'm going to be sitting in the perfect spot to make this happen, So, yeah, I mean, he did seem pretty surprised that Rico made it the whole way. But I don't think if that race was 2 or 3 more laps longer, I don't think he was going to make it the rest of the way. I mean, that thing was showing cords, probably was, going low by the time he got to victory lane. So, well, that's all that matters, man. It made it 50 laps, and that's all anybody's going to talk about,
And Rico,
but it's still a valiant effort.
Yeah, I mean, the way Rico was driving that car the last couple of laps, he knew he was maybe on borrowed time right there. I think you just tell just the way he was gingerly managing that race car around the racetrack the last couple of laps.
Yeah, and before that last yellow, his crew guys in the infield, I mean, he had a huge lead. I mean, he was a straightaway ahead of those guys in traffic, making moves, trying to get by cars, and his crew guys were, jumping in the air, telling him to slow down, take it easy. You don't need to be going that fast,
Right.
And then you kind of tell that he started to get the message, because, TJ was, I think, 4.5 seconds behind, and by the time that last yellow came out, he was like 1.5 seconds behind, right? So he picked up 3 seconds on him, and because Rico was really starting to back up his corner and just, super easy on the throttle and all that stuff, So, I mean, obviously you never want to see a rubber race and all that, and, especially for a big race like that. But it was interesting to see, who could conserve their tire the best and all that. And obviously, I don't know if Rico was the best at it, but, he won the race. I would say TJ probably had the best tire, but still kind of intriguing to see how that all played out.
Pretty rare we see Port Royal Speedway rubber down like that. I guess they'd had some weather issues out there. The track prep was pretty challenging all week, was it not?
They had 7 inches of rain the day before, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that's what somebody said. But, the first 2 nights I thought were pretty good racing. There was 2 lanes, at least in the features. But, they started the night earlier on Saturday. They started hot laps at I think the whole motor heat and all that started at 5:30 instead of 6 or something, and it was kind of it was a little bit hotter and all that stuff. And they were also expecting more rain on Saturday night than what I think they actually got, and into Saturday morning. It was supposed to rain until noon, and it only rained until 10 or maybe 9 or something, right? So the night before they kind of were expecting more rain, and maybe they sealed the track over, and sometimes that's what happens, right? I mean, not all races are going to turn into an instant classic, and they're all going to be the best. It just kind of sucks because, they had that place sold out. All the grandstands were sold out. There was 53 cars on the property, 1 million people in the pits, and, a lot of pomp and circumstance and all that stuff, but it just wasn't meant to be, But obviously there's always next year. It's just, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I don't want to come down hard on the guys at Port Royal Speedway because I watch a lot of races on video from there. Very seldom do you ever see them miss track prep at Port Royal Speedway. So, one time in a long time we saw what we saw on Saturday night. So I just want to mention that this is pretty rare.
Non-typical.
Port Royal. Yeah.
It is definitely atypical, yeah. I mean, even the track prep guy, Steve Steinley, Razor Steve, man, he went through the pits after the races and told, it sounded like he, mentioned everybody, man, I'm sorry about this, and this is, we're definitely ashamed that this happened and all that stuff, right? I mean, they aren't happy about it. Some tracks, if it takes rubber, they're like, oh, whatever, man, we'll see you guys next week, right? But, I mean, they were upset. They weren't happy with how things turned out. Obviously, they want to put on a show for the fans. That place has been known. I would say over the last 4 or 5 years, it's really gained a lot of traction. In my opinion, I think it's the best racing half mile when it's right.
Yes.
Right. When you look at Eldora, you look at Knoxville, you look at some of these other half miles, I think that it races the best on a more consistent basis. But obviously, it's track prep's it's a science and it's hard to perfect. Even when you race there 20 times a year, man, it's still hard to get right. When you consider all the weather and all that stuff going into it. So I do appreciate them, Steinley and all them coming through the pits and telling everybody they're sorry, and it's all that. I mean, that's something that not a lot of people would do.
Rico has leapfrogged over Tyler Courtney. He's currently second in points. That says a lot about Rico's performance here as of lately, right?
Yeah, it does, but, Tyler's obviously really had some struggles here recently, man. It's been a really, really rough stretch for him. I mean, he has been, this might be one of the worst stretches he's had in a long time. It's been a lot of it was been him getting into wrecks that, he can't even avoid or, mechanical problems or whatever. I think it was on Friday? He went out to qualify, and he was like 2 seconds out the pace because he had a bad plug wire or something, right? It's just stuff like that. It sets him so far behind the 8 ball and all this. And, Skagit was a complete disaster. He got wrecked out like 2 or 3 times because people would crash in front of him or whatever. And I don't know, man, it's been tough to watch because those guys were fast, like really fast before the West Coast swing. And now they just cannot seem to catch a break. But, last time we go to Lernerville this weekend, and he was, taking the lead there before him and McFadden got together that last time we were there. So maybe this is a good track for him to get things turned around and maybe challenge Rico for second, because that's all that's going to happen. Brad Sweet, he might have this thing clinched here in about 2 weeks.
That was Rico's third win in 3 days, wasn't it?
That was his third win in 8. Well, it'll be 8 days. He won Friday.
8 days.
Yeah, Friday at Skagit, Saturday at Skagit, and then we raced Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Port, and he won on Saturday. So 3 wins in 8 days. 2 of them, 58,000, and the other one 102,000. So not bad time to be Rico right now.
There is Chase Rodman. Give us an update on what happened at Port Royal last weekend. They raced at Lernerville last night. Scott, Rico, he set quick time in time trials last night, but then you look at his heat race performance. They invert the top qualifiers, so he started 4th in the first heat, but he didn't make the transfer out of the first heat. And, he finished the race and everything, but he didn't make the transfer.
Why was that, Kurt?
He just didn't look as fast.
Why was that?
Why? Yeah, I'm asking the same thing. I don't know. He started 4th and ended up 7th, didn't make the transfer for the feature, so he had to run the B main, which he finished 2nd in that, and then started 22nd in the 8th feature last night and got as high as 15th, and that was that. So if you don't make the transfer out of the heat races and these things, you're in deep trouble. And so Rico, who had a fast race car last night, he proved in time trials, started 22nd and ended up in 15th. So that was pretty shocking to me. And he won there the last time they were at Lernerville. Remember, he won the Silver Cup, $25,000 to win back in July. So I'm scratching my head what was going on there. He finished the race, didn't wreck, didn't appear to have mechanical issues, but I was very surprised by that. We've got Jake.
Rico is. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You were going to say something about Rico?
Sure. I was going to say about Rico that he is leapfrogged over Tyler Courtney. He's 246 points behind Brad Sweet right now.
And last night didn't help his cause. Last night because Sunshine had a 3rd-place finish in last night's feature. So you got that going on, too. So we'll see what happens tonight out at Lernerville. $50,000 to win. We got Jake Buback coming up live here in a little bit. Want to squeeze in Connor Wade. here. He is the pit reporter for the World of Outlaws. They're in California this weekend. They raced out at King Speedway last Saturday night, where Carson Macedo picked up the win after Buddy Kofoid won on Friday night of last week, and Buddy won again last night at Bakersfield Speedway. Here is Connor Wade from Monday's Mostly Motorsports show, giving a recap of last weekend's first of 3 weekends out in California. Last weekend, Stockton Dirt Track, Saturday night at King Speedway. A little bit of cowboy up, especially on Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend, honestly. Both tracks were just really, really wet, which, look, I get it. It's 100 degrees, 105 degrees every day out here in California and in Central Cal. So when that's the case, you know, they're going to water the racetrack a lot. And they did. They probably, you know, both tracks probably overwatered a little bit. But, you know, you'd rather be safe than sorry. And honestly, I think what everybody was just trying to avoid was a track that was going to take rubber in heat races, because if that happened, then it would have been, you know, just a complete disaster. So, you know, the Outlaws did a really nice job of you know, doing the best. But, you know, nobody wants to take a 30-minute break for track prep. Nobody wants to hot lap the second and third heat races twice each before they run the heats. But it's what we had to do to put on the best show for the fans, and honestly, you know, have the safest and best conditions all around for the drivers to race on. So I know it made for some late nights, not only for us here on the West Coast, but for everybody that was staying up late on the East Coast. But you know what, we did the best with the cards we were dealt, and at the end of the day, you know, Buddy Kofoid got a big win Friday night, and Carson Macedo got a really big win on Saturday night. So that's what matters.
You know, we just had Carson Macedo on, just so you know.
Yeah, Carson, that was a big win for him Saturday night. I'm sure he was excited to talk about that. He straight up said he wouldn't be a sprint car driver if not for the Tarleton family. So for him to go and win that race for them, you throw in the fact that that's literally Carson's home track. All of his family was there, people he grew up, you know, racing with and around and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was really happy for Carson to see him get a win. I know that meant a lot to him, and he deserves that.
Did you feel like Sheldon or Buddy had a chance to outrun Carson Macedo?
Not really. I mean, kind of the way the racetrack was, I thought Carson was kind of in control, and Carson kind of knew that too, and did a good job of, you know, setting a good pace at the front of the field, not trying to do anything too crazy in lap traffic, and you know, just drove a really smart race. He knew that if Buddy or Sheldon were going to get by him, they were probably going to have to do something pretty crazy to do it. So Sheldon Buddy actually had a really good battle for second there. And, you know, that was honestly probably one of the highlights of that race was their battle for second towards the end. So, no, I really didn't think Kofoid and Sheldon had anything for Carson. Carson was pretty dialed in, and, you know, still a good night for Buddy and Sheldon too. But Kofoid especially is, they're probably as fast as they've been all year, if you ask me.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Garrett Williamson, he started 17th and he ended up running 7th. Garrett Williamson is probably one of the most impressive drivers in racing right now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, he's definitely had a good year of improvement and is getting to a point where he can be competitive on a national scene. You know, he's done well with the Outlaws several times this year, a couple of top tens. He's pretty consistent, you know, feature lock-in car through the heat races and stuff. So he and his team, you know, and the Fishers that are supporting him have, you know, found a really nice rhythm, found a really nice stride, and improved tremendously. And honestly, the trend that they're on, I think, you know, you've got to be excited about it. You know, I see potential for them to be winning outlaw races in 2 or 3 years. So I believe, this is just my opinion, I don't know anything for sure. I think Garrett will run the Outlaw Tour next year. I hope he does. I'm excited for the possibility of that, and I think he'd do really well on it if he did.
One thing we talked with Carson about is the consistency they've been running since Peebly. They had a pretty good run at Peebly. They came into Knoxville, ran third in the Cappy, did well at the Nationals, and they've just kept this consistency going. Carson Macito's in championship form right now, but the problem is he's 110 points back of David Gravel right now. That's the big problem, but he's running like a champion should.
Yeah, he is. I think he's the fastest car in the country right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the last month plus, it's probably Carson, Kofoid, I think, is right there, and then Rico, who's won a couple of big races with High Limit now. So I think in no particular order, actually, I would put Carson above the other two. I think Carson's the fastest car in the country. What's different right now about what they're doing compared to what they were doing earlier in the year whenever they were really consistent is now they're actually winning races. Earlier in the year, they were consistent, but they were on the podium and running top 5 every night, and they just couldn't win. They only won 2 races, I think, until July. I think Wilmot in July was only their 3rd win, and now they've got 8 wins. So now they're actually winning races, and like you said, they are in championship form. It would take a miracle, but he does have a shot at David if he can keep it up, and he's going to need David to have a couple bad nights too.
Hey, listen. Carson Macedo has leapfrogged over Donnie Schatz. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like I said, he's just been really consistent and won a lot of races the last couple of months. And, Donnie hasn't quite been able to put up he's put up the consistency in terms of top 5s and top 10s, but just hasn't quite been able to get to victory lane as much as the other guys. So, I think it says a lot about just the season Carson and JJR put together, especially the second half of the season, like Kirk mentioned, Peebly on. So I'm hoping that Carson can, at least make this championship battle interesting.
The problem is that he's 110 points back. David Gravel's going to have some problems along the way for Carson Macedo to catch him, right?
Yeah, 100%. David's going to have a couple of bad nights, and David has not had a lot of those yet. And if he has had a bad night, he usually comes back the next night and wins or runs on the podium. So, if you look at the rest of the season, maybe David has 1 or 2 more bad nights, but honestly, it's probably going to take more than that, for Carson to have a real shot at the championship. And with however many races we have left, I don't know the exact number, I think it's somewhere around 20.
Yeah, 19, 20.
The way the ratio goes, David's probably not going to have multiple bad nights. So, but you never know. I mean, that's the one thing about this industry is anything can happen. You never know who's going to have a bad night, who's going to win. But I do think it'll be a lot of fun to watch and pay attention. I will say, I do not think that if David wins and Carson is second in points, I do not think it will be a 110-point gap whenever we get to World Finals. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be really, really close, but I think it'll be closer than 110 points where we stand right now. So my educated guess is that Carson's going to continue to gain, and we'll just have to see how far he gets.
Yeah, the other big problem for Carson Macedo, and Gravel has a problem on any particular night. We've seen him come back and finish in the top 10 in the A main, get upside down or break something, still get a top 10 finish in the A feature. How many times has he done that this year?
Yeah, you're right. Cotton Bowl for sure in March. I don't remember if he got back into the top 10 that night, but I think he got back up to I think he may have got back up to 8th, or it was somewhere near the top 10. It was a good recovery. And then, of course, at Red River Valley, got upside down in qualifying and recovered to have a pretty solid top 10. So David told me coming into the season at Volusia, I remember I was talking to him back in February, and he said, I want us to be better in the work area this year. I want us to be better at recover, and they've done an incredible job of that. But so is Carson Macedo. I can think of a couple races where, they got upside down at Cotton Bowl that one night also, and then I can think of 2 times where they've had to change rear ends in the work area and gotten back out on the track. So you look at both of those teams, and they've both done an incredible job in the work area. And honestly, that's why probably they're top 2 in points. They have the ability to bounce back and recover better than anybody else.
That is Connor Wade, the pit reporter for the World of Outlaws coverage on DirtVision.com. They're out in California this weekend. Well, I'll tell you, we talked a lot about a whole lot of hot drivers right now, but one guy that's hot is Jake Buback, coming off his third Race Saver Nationals victory at Eagle Raceway. He won on the ASCS National Tour out in Montana a couple of weeks ago, and last night he makes a late pass on Jace Park to win the preliminary of the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial Race. Looking for his first win at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial tonight. Jake is joining us right now. Jake, congratulations on the victory. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So how'd you do it last night? How'd you pass Jace Park?
He did a really good job. We got to lap cars there with maybe 2 or 3 to go. And they were running top and bottom, and he really didn't have anywhere to go. And I got up next to him, and then the yellow came out. But before that, I had been able to search around a little bit more. And I think with me getting underneath him, he thought that he needed to protect the bottom a little bit more. And on the restart, I was able to just roll around the outside and get a good run coming to the white flag and get around him on the top.
Jake, this is Scott Traylor. I'm telling you, Jace Park is a pretty talented race car driver. He stands on the gas pretty hard, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he did a really good job. He did exactly what he needed to do, and I just think him being the leader, he wasn't able to search around as much as we did, happened to come from 6th. So he just was kind of more so committed to the bottom lane there the last half of the race, and I don't think he knew that the top had came in as good as it did.
There was a good group of cars: Jace Park, Noah Gash, Joe B. Miller, Scott Boguski, Riley Kreisel. There was a really good group of cars right behind you, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was, and I'm not sure. I don't know how we would have competed with Chase. He was really fast all night. If he wouldn't have made that one mistake there, I'm not sure if we would have had anything for him. But I think it would have been a pretty good race.
How much tread was left on your tires last night? I know Thursday night was a real challenge for everybody.
Yeah, Thursday night we didn't have much left. We could have went maybe 3 or 4 more laps. Last night the track was so heavy tires were fine.
So they did a good job of prepping the track for last night's show, you think?
They almost did too good a job. It wasn't really passable in the heat races. It was still greasy in places, even in the main event. So they went a little too far, but it was nice to not, we tore off 7 tires the first night. So it was nice to go through a night without hurting any tires.
Hey,
Jake,
go ahead, Scott.
Just so you know, on Thursday night, people tore up $2,000 worth of tires. How many tires did you go through?
We went through seven tires total the first night.
Holy cow, man! That financially, that's pretty taxing on you, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Last night's win probably doesn't even cover the tire bill from the night before. So hopefully we can have a good night tonight and come out a little bit ahead.
How big would it be to win the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial?
It'd be very special. Been fortunate to win the Saturday night portion of it the last 2 years now, so that's been pretty neat. It's a big special event. It's a little bit different now that there aren't 360s here. There's less cars, but the quality of cars is still pretty high.
Hey, Jake, listen, you've won in ASCS. You won the Race Saver 305 Nationals. Talk about that up there a little bit, up at Eagle.
Yeah, had the opportunity to drive for Ben Offill in the Coyote Candle Company car, which is, in my opinion, the best 305 car in the country. So very, very honored to be able to drive that car and race at a track that's 8 miles from my home. So it was nice to stay home and earn some good money.
All right, you're hoping for a happy medium as far as track tonight. We're trying to figure out what is the format. How does this work tonight based on what you've done the first 2 nights?
I'm not exactly sure. I know we were High Point, so I believe we should start on the front row. And then I think they locked in 8 cars, so I really don't know what they're doing. I think in the past they've done qualifiers for the guys that were 9 on back. But truthfully, I'm not 100% sure what the format is.
Yeah, I looked at the press releases. I didn't see how the format. I guess we'll all find out together. Racing at 6:30 tonight at Lucas Oil Speedway. So I know they put new dirt on the track at Lucas Oil Speedway, and previous to the other night, we've seen great track conditions. Used to rubber down a lot back in the day, but we didn't see that when they put this new dirt, the Show Me 100 for the late models. It was a great show. The previous time we saw the Power I-410, they had a great racetrack up there. So I guess it's just finding the right spot to get this racetrack tonight. But I think if it's right, we're going to see a great race tonight, don't you think?
I agree. I think the track, it races really good, especially when it's slick. And usually it's pretty slick, but like you said, it oftentimes does take rubber. Thursday night was very similar to how it's been in the past. And then last night, I've never, ever seen it like that. So I think they're still learning, but hopefully they can hit it right in the middle and give us a good 2-lane track.
You think
you've got a lot of people that Noah Gash, Joe B. Miller, Scott Boguski, Riley Kreisel, Xavier Doney. Xavier Doney, I think, is one of the most up-and-coming drivers, and Aaron Reitzel as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good guys behind us that they're wanting to win just as bad as I do. So it'll be tough, and hopefully we can have just as good a car as we did last night, and I think we'll be in okay shape.
What were you thinking when Chase Randall in that Beaver drill and tool car got a little bit too wide over there in turn number 4 and went to flipping, going for the lead?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. He was really fast, so I hate to say it was good to see because it gave us one more position, and we didn't have to race with him, but pretty scary looking from my vantage point when I went by. He was up in the catch fence pretty high.
So what is the other big challenge going into tonight that you're keeping a focus on outside of the things you've already talked about?
Honestly, just keeping an eye on what they do with the track. The first night they went and they dug it up for the heat races, and they didn't pack it. And it was trying to take off from the bottom lane that first night in heat races was nearly impossible. It was really greasy, and with the dirt not being packed down, we're just sitting there spinning on marbles basically. So, and it also tore up a bunch of stuff, big mud clods flying everywhere. Tore up wings and hoods and all kinds of stuff. So hopefully they learn from that, and we can just keep an eye on it and see what they're going to do before, and have a good guess what we need to do with the car to make sure we can take off well, but still be there at the end.
You put a big. That's always a bummer when you get a bunch of rocks and it damages your wings, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not fun, but it is part of it. But I've never seen a track do that before. So hopefully they learn from that and they stop doing that.
You put a big focus on the 410 side this year. How big was getting a 410 win last night?
It was pretty big. The competition level is, much higher than any other series or any other division, I guess. And we haven't been bad. We've been pretty solid, but to get a win was really nice. It was special. I'm glad we were able to get one. That's the first 410 win, I believe, it is the first 410 win in the 27B for me. And I'm not sure how many he had when he drove, but pretty special.
All right. We can't thank you enough, Jake, for taking the time to join us here on Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Eye Midwest Lightning Sprints. We can't thank you enough for taking the time. We sure appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, good luck tonight.
All right, thank you.
All right, there he is. Jake Buback, Big winner last night at Lucas Oil Speedway, and I guess we're all guessing on what the format is, aren't we, Scott? I don't see it listed anywhere, but he assumes that, well, he is the top point getter after the first 2 nights. So does he start on the pole position tonight? I don't know that. I guess we'll find out together. But you'd think they'd have the format, the way it all lays out, listed somewhere, but I didn't see it in either of the press releases, either from Lyndall Scranton or the Power I press release last night. So I don't know. Guess we'll find out together tonight how it works.
You're picking Ayrton Genitin.
Yeah, of
right?
course, when we make these picks, where are these guys going to start in the feature event tonight? If you're starting on the front row, like Jake Buback thinks he will tonight, it's pretty hard to pick against him. But I still think it's a wide open deal tonight. There's 4 or 5 guys here that can get this done, don't you think?
No, I believe that, Kirk. I think there's Ayrton Genitin is another guy that could win the race tonight. And I don't know where he's starting.
I don't either.
You got to look at Jace Park. You got to look at Noah Gass. Got to look at Joe B. Miller, Scott Boguski, Xavier Doney, and you can't count out Aaron Reitzel as well.
Jamie Ball, Chase Randall.
Jamie Ball's another guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a half a dozen guys here that's got a legitimate shot to win this thing tonight. It just all depends on where they start, how they adapt to the track conditions. So that makes it fun when you go to a race tonight and you have no idea who's going to win. I'm picking Ayrton Genitin to win, but he's got his hands full tonight with Reitzel, Miller, Ball, Boguski, Buback, Randall, Doney. I mean, there's a lot of guys here. One guy we haven't talked about is Blake Hahn, who was the championship contender in the Power I 410 series. He's struggled a little bit here the last couple of nights down there. Scott, what's the latest with Blake Hahn and the 52 car?
They can't get the car to roll over on the right rear, Kirk. That's the problem right now. They can't get the car to roll over on the right rear.
How do you adjust that? How do you fix something like that? Is it the chassis itself?
I know that they were changing a lot of bars, a lot of different things on the car. They're trying to get that thing to roll over on the right rear.
Yeah. They've struggled a little bit this year because not so much. I mean, they've had horsepower, but just getting the setup of the race car right. Last year, they ran well in the 410 cars, but and when you get off by just a little bit and you start making a lot of changes, that makes it really hard because sometimes the changes can go the other way too, isn't it? It makes it really tough to get it right. Once you're out of kilter on the setup of these cars, it's hard to get it back, isn't it?
You know what I think's wrong, Kirk? I think they got the wrong chassis. I think they need to make a switch, and they need to go in and break out the new car that they've got in the trailer.
What are they running for a chassis now? What is that chassis they're running? Do you know?
JR1.
JR1. And what's the new one that they haven't broke out yet?
It's a JR1 as well.
It's a JR1, but like an updated version of it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can...
Kirk, just so you know, every frame is different.
Yeah.
Every time that you take a car out of the trailer, the trailer, to be honest with you, I think that I think they need a new chassis is what they need to do. I think they need to break out the new car.
Maybe could they do it tonight? I mean, you can't do that. I guess you'd have to. A lot of changes have to be made to make that change, wouldn't it? You can't just do it overnight from a Friday to a Saturday, can you? Or can you?
You can't do that.
No.
Yep, right.
So hopefully they'll get it. They didn't make the A main last night, so when you don't make the A feature,
they started it. The problem was they started in the back of the B main, the A main. I'm sorry.
The B main.
They started in the back of the heat, and they started in the back of the B feature as well.
Yeah, that makes
so. They didn't have much luck last night.
So hopefully we can see the 52 car get back to racing for. It's got to be really frustrating for Blake. I know that because he's used to running up front and winning a lot of races up there. So hopefully he can get things back together here soon. There's a couple of other drivers that we haven't talked about. Brian Bell set quick time last night. He's a guy you want to keep your eye on. Kyle Jones is another driver that I think we need to keep
last
our
night.
eye on. Yeah. But he's got a fast enough race car that he could make something happen. Miles Paulus, Reese Moran, who won a 360 race. Yeah. Reese Moran won a 360 race down at Texarkana last Saturday night. So he's a guy that, you look down through this whole field, Scott, this is a pretty tough field of 410 sprint cars that got down there at Lucas Oil Speedway.
It is.
I mean, you don't have many bad drivers in that whole field.
Right. There's not many bad drivers. Gunnar Ramey is another guy that looked pretty good last night. He started 8th. He ended up running 10th. Gunnar Ramey, the Impact Signs, Awnings, and Wraps car is doing pretty good as well.
Yeah. As far as the non-wing side, I think Ricky Lewis is the odds-on favorite to win the way he looked on Thursday night. Wyatt Burks is certainly a guy you want to keep your eye on. Wesley Smith is another one. And then you look at the guys who ran last night. Chase Howard was the feature winner of last night's event. They split the field up, half ran on Thursday night, half ran last night. But Kobe Simpson set quick time last night. He's a good young driver that will be in the mix tonight as well. So a lot of different guys to keep your eye on. But to me, Ricky Lewis is the guy to beat tonight.
Ricky Lewis is the guy in the non-wing cars?
I think so.
Yeah. I would agree with you on that one, Kirk.
All right, Scott. We'll see you down there tonight. The good thing about going to Lucas Oil Speedway tonight, I don't have to drive all the way back after the races tonight, right?
Right.
You got
a bed right here.
That's the good part about driving down there tonight. And I don't think we're gonna. There's not much of a threat to this thing getting rained out. I know it's cloudy, but the forecast, even though it's cloudy, I think there's no real threat of rain down there, is there?
It's been cloudy all weekend down here.
It has, really, there's really not been a threat of rain. So how will that affect, Scott, the cloudy? It should make it easier to prep the racetrack, should it not? Not having a sun beat down on it?
I would think that that's the case, Kirk. I think that they overwatered it last night, and tonight I hope they don't overwater it tonight again.
You know what I think?
Because the track was too heavy last night, to be honest with you.
And Jake pointed that out. Yeah, they went too far with. You know what makes me think that tonight will be just perfect? What do you think? They had it Thursday night at Rubber Dam. Last night they went the other way with it. Don't you think we're going to get just right tonight? Which is the important night to have it. This is the important night to have it right? Saturday night of a big event.
I hope that's the case, Kurt.
I'll bet it's a good racetrack. I bet we'll see a whale of a show tonight, especially in that Wing 410 sprint car race. That's what I'm looking forward to tonight. All right, Scott, we'll look forward to seeing you down there.
All right, Kurt. I'll see you down here in a little bit.
Todd, thanks for joining in. What you got going on this weekend? You
kids
watching football?
Yeah, watch a little football on Sunday, and
the Chiefs play tomorrow.
Tomorrow afternoon, late game tomorrow afternoon.
The
Bengals, last home road game for a couple weeks, and
I hope I get hope I get home in time to watch the game.
It'll be late. It's 4:30. It's a 3:30 game.
3:30 game.
So
That'd be just right for you, Scott.
Should be just fine.
Yeah, you make it back plenty of time. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the guests. Thanks for Jake Buback for joining us live this morning. Don't forget, Mostly Motorsports, Monday, live at 12 noon, we'll have Bobby Pierce, the newly crowned World 100 winner, on the show live on Monday's Mostly Motorsports show, and we'll get the winners from tonight down at Lucas Oil Speedway on the show as well. For Todd Surprise, for Scott Traylor, I'm Kirk Elliott. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great rest of the weekend. Thanks for joining us here on Track Talk. We're brought to you by Rod End Supply.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
We always argue, baby, never to the end. And when it's over, you always win. Now I'm sitting and thinking, and I'm worrying. I got the nerve, so baby, where you been? I let you live, but you let me go.